All right. Recording. I almost forgot, dude. I almost forgot to record. We were sitting here talking about the wonderful ladies who are just bosses in their own right. I mean, dude, it's amazing. I think I saw in the chat too it was it Soradia. Sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, but I saw that is this your first time being here? If so, let us know. Happy that you're here. And guys, VIPs, you guys know what to do in the chats. We have VIPs in the house. Steven, I think I see Lars. And if I'm missing anybody else, I think Cecilia is here too. Network in the chat, guys. These wonderful VIPs have invested in themselves to learn underwriting, market analysis, and they're doing more, and they're bringing more to the table with insurance and other meetings that they're hosting. So guys, connect with these guys. They're doing amazing things. Yesterday, Max is here. Sorry, Max. Yesterday, I sent over a deal for Max to quickly look at it, and he underwrote it in like less than an hour, bro. He was so fast from when he first started. He had, first starting off, it took him a while, but now he underwrote so fast with market analysis, bro. It blew my mind. It blew my mind how efficient these guys are with a detailed email. That's how good these guys are. Guys, you should be networking with everybody in this chat. And there's silent assassins here. I'm not going to mention who, but there's some people in this chat right now that I'm looking at that are silent assassins. You would never guess that they're freaking amazing. Super amazing. All right. Let's get started. Today is part 7 of our multifamily series from acquisition to closing from A to C. Today is the final meeting for this series, guys. And it's the most exciting. It's closing. It's closing, guys. This is the part where everything starts to line up and you have a closing date. Once that thing is done, it is yours. It is yours.
Honestly, I love this topic,
I
and I'm
know.
sorry to cut you off, but just because this is like the last stage. You know how think back to when you're in like high school or some grade school where you knew that vacation was just around the corner, whether it was winter break, summer break, spring break. That like last day before the break, it just felt so good because you knew you were about to just be off. You're about to have a great time. That's the same feeling I get with this, right? I know we're about to close on this deal. It's just around the corner. We're about to get a little cash up front from the acquisition fee. We're about to start hitting the ground running and making this thing come to fruition. Everything that we've been planning, like it's just so exciting. You know, you got that adrenaline build up, and I'm super excited to share this stuff with you guys. It's gonna be a good one. It's gonna be a good one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, Joseph, I'm not sure if maybe check on your Zoom if it's actually picking up the mic for your mic itself or it's not picking up the mic from your computer. Just make sure. But I agree 100%. This is the most exciting. So we're going to go ahead and get started, guys. All right. So if you guys don't know who we are, I think there's a first timer in here. So we are the $1 Million Upside team. On the left-hand side is myself, Oscar, and then Ione. We're both a couple, and we're also partners in the business. We do this full time. Of course, my name is Oscar. If you haven't met me, I'm the visionary of the couple. So I'm typically the one at the front end dealing with investor relations, brokers, deal structure. That's my specialty. So I love talking about due diligence and closing. That's what I head most of the time. And then Ione, she is the integrator of us. She's typically in the background. Nobody sees her. Sometimes she's working on some stuff that nobody knows about. When she does release it, you're like, hot dang, this girl is amazing. She's a silent assassin too. She's heading the underwriting for our team, and she also does asset management. And she's been diligently working in asset management. She's becoming even better every single day. On the right-hand side, you have KJ and Joseph Mudd, also a powerhouse couple. KJ is the visionary of the couple. She's a lot of times working alongside with me with outreach. She's amazing at talking to brokers and creating those relationships. And she heads the investor relations part of our team, raising capital and that type of things. And then Joseph is the integrator of the couple. He's typically working with Ione with underwriting and also works on asset management himself. He's a lot of the point of the contact. He's typically the point of contact with our property management companies. So he's involved every step of the way as well.
Guys, am I coming through crispy now?
Man, super crispy, dude.
Nice. Nice. Oh, now I got a 2 from Lars. Let's go.
Yeah, I think it was picking up like your webcam or something like that.
It defaulted back to the computer microphone, and KJ's computer microphone is doo-doo. That's why she's got this super nice crispy microphone.
Nice. All right. Rules and expectations, they're the same ones. So if you guys have been watching with us, nothing has changed. But if this is your first time, this series was built for you guys to show you how we go from finding a deal, everything in between, and taking it all the way to the closing table. Today's a closing day, closing meeting. So this is amazing. The series is based on our business model and experiences. There's many ways to do a deal. Every market is different. So we encourage everyone to do their own due diligence. Also, please hold any questions until the end because we will have a Q&A and network with each other in the chat to do deals together. That's how we found a bunch of our deals, guys, just networking in the chat, outside of the chat, setting up meetings, all that type of stuff. So make sure you are networking with each other. All right. Our why and our mission. If you guys have been with us, you know what we're doing this for. We're doing this for you guys. We're doing it for the community. We're doing it for people who are new in this space, who didn't have anywhere or no money, no experience like us, and didn't know where to start. Joseph gave a great example. We used to get in these rooms and talk to people who were experienced, and we would ask them, you know, what does the process look like from starting off in multifamily to closing? And the typical response was what, Joseph, when we asked that question?
Go find a deal. Bring it back to me. Go find a deal, bring it back to me, and then we'll talk about it. Yeah. That's what everybody used to tell us all the time.
All the time. And we get it. You know, they're busy. Their time is valuable. We would probably say the same thing. But the reason why we decided to do this was because no one taught us that process and nobody is teaching it. So, or if they are, we don't know about it, but we decided to teach it because we wanted to show you guys what that looks like based on our experiences and everything that we've had to go through. So you guys have a roadmap on what you should be doing or what you can do in order to get there. So our goal, our mission is to help those people who are new, and we pull them up to do their first deal, and then they do a few deals, and then they can do the same for someone else, rinse and repeat. So they're bringing them with them at the top. That's why we're doing this, guys. It's for you guys. It's for the community, for everybody who's wanting to learn. With that being said, are you guys ready? Let's put some fires in the chat, guys. This is the last one. Let's leave on a bang.
Let's leave on a bang.
Man, you guys are great, man. Y'all have those fires on like copy paste already.
I know, dude. They're so fast.
I know.
Like, I know what's coming, and they still all beat me.
when I first started putting fires, bro, I had to go in there, click on it manually. It took me about 10 minutes later. The fires were already gone. That's awesome. All right, let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right, closing. Guys, this is amazing. This is like, if you've ever closed on a real estate property, you know the feeling. It's still like, you know, you still have like these, you know, reservations, but it's closing. It's exciting, right? In multifamily, it's a little different because you've already done your due diligence by this time. So you know you're going to go forward, because if you were in the last meeting, typically your due diligence can be anywhere from 30 to 45 days or less or more, whatever. But if you are at the close to the end of your due diligence, you have already reassessed the deal. You've checked the underwriting, you checked everything to make sure you're going to go forward with the deal. And if you are going forward with the deal, then your due diligence is now over. Now you're in the closing period. So you know that the deal makes sense and you know it's worth going forward. So this is the closing time. This is the part where you're making sure everything is lined up with every party involved. So this is the most exciting part. If you're at this point, then you know you have a good deal and it's just a matter of closing it at this point. So here are some common purchase and sell terms that I talked about in the last meeting that we were here, the last Zoom. And these are some of the common things that people agree on some of the larger multifamily deals. Everything's different. But the most common you'll see is a 30-30, meaning 30-day due diligence, 30-day closing, 45-day due diligence, 45-day closing, or a mixture of 30 to 60 or 45-60 plus. Depends on what you guys are negotiating, and it also depends on the deal. Because we've seen deals, and maybe you can touch up on this real quick, Joseph, on some of the loan assumption deals and how long those can take.
Yeah, so anytime we're doing a loan assumption or our offers for a loan assumption, we always want to put 60 days for the closing period just because it takes a long time. Um, you could potentially do it faster, but we would rather have, that cushion. And even if the seller decides, hey, I don't want to wait that long, what we'll do is put an extension in there. So if we do have to go over, then we have the right to do so. We put an extension in there. But then there's the other side of it where there's some loans that automatically are just going to take longer, like a HUD loan. That's almost a guarantee that it's going to be a 6-month closing. Can be quicker, can be longer, but on average, it's about 6 months to close on a HUD loan, whether that's new debt HUD loan or assumable HUD loan. There's just a lot of stuff that goes into it, and they have their own process, their own timeline. Like, you can rush lenders all you want and try and get them to speed up, but you're at their mercy with how they operate in their SOPs.
Exactly. And this is assuming you're doing like a new debt or loan assumption. All this can be completely different if it's just a straight up seller finance, guys.
Yeah.
So think about it that way. If it's seller finance, we've done a seller finance where we had a 15-day closing, and that's because it was seller finance, and that's okay as long as you guys know what you've done your due diligence and you know how the process works. We had partners who were a little bit more experienced, and so they walked us through a lot of that. So everything can be negotiated, and it depends on the underwriting and the deal. All right, closing items. So make sure that you go through the following items, and you'll know when you get to the closing period because they'll also provide you with a closing checklist that you can go off of. But one, at this time, this is the time where you identified, or you should have already identified your SEC attorney, but this is the time where you're starting to strategize with them on what it is that you're going to be doing. You're going to want to know what those lender requirements are because this is the closing period. If there's a lender, you want to know what those are, and you can ask them, they'll give it to you, or they'll just give it to you anyway because this is the part where you're supposed to be doing this. Title, you're going to want to talk to title and make sure that they have everything on their end and making sure that they're drafting up the proper paperwork. You also should have already secured your property management company at this point, and you're raising capital as well. And we're going to dive deeper into these items so you guys can know what we're talking about. But these are the 5 things that Joseph and I came up with. And there's more, but just to keep it a little bit more simple for you guys, this is some of the major things that you'll have to worry about or make sure you're on top of.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, closing. So we'll cover the first one, the SEC attorney. If you are, and this only pertains to you if you are syndicating the deal. If you are not syndicating the deal and you may be taking a JV structure or whatever that other structure may look like, then this may not pertain to you, but we still recommend going through an attorney to make sure you are structuring your deals correctly, especially if it involves you raising capital. Go talk to an attorney. Joseph and I are not attorneys. FYI, we're not CPAs. We're not financial advisors. Go talk to your attorneys to see what the best structure would be for your deal. But for us, we're going to take this. Go ahead, Joseph.
I was just going to say, even if you guys know you're going to be JVing or taking some other model, I would still at least have the consultation or have a conversation with that attorney to figure out, am I structuring this in a way that is still legal, or am I getting into that kind of gray area? Because you do want to be aware of it. So even if you know you're not syndicating the deal, I would still at least have the conversation to make sure what you're planning to do is going to be okay and not breaking any of those security laws.
Exactly. So we're going to assume we're taking the syndication model because this is our model. This is what we do. We start the process with the attorney to make sure that we are getting all the proper paperwork in place. A lot of the things would include like the private placement memorandum to make sure we get that drafted and also fix it along the way. We're making sure we have the subscription agreement, so the questionnaire that you'll be giving to your investors to make sure that they are some form of sophisticated investor, or they know what the heck is talking about, that you guys are talking about, that you're not going to like grandma or someone that doesn't know what they're talking about, and you're trying to get them to invest in your deal. So you're getting this ready with your attorney. You're also making sure that you are taking the right filing the right paperwork for your syndication, whether it's a 506B, 506C, or whatever that may be. It doesn't have to be those. It could be other ones. Talk to your attorney. Obviously, you would also talk to your partners about this to make sure that you're doing the right filings, and also your entity structures. This is where the SEC is also going to help you with identifying how you should structure your deals. If it's an experienced attorney, they will already know how to do this. And I would recommend you talk to an experienced attorney. And I also recommend that you have a referral for any attorneys that you're going to be talking to. So these are some of the items that you're going to be talking to the attorney to make sure that this right now, this stuff is what you're going to be doing during the closing period. This is time to get all this stuff done. All right. And again, guys, hold your questions to the end. If you have any, write them down. We'll go over a little bit more of this in detail if you need it. Closing. Lender requirements. If you are working with a lender, you just want to make sure that you have all the proper documentation, entity structure, and requirements necessary. For example, we're working on a loan assumption right now, and the lender requires the lender fees up front in order for them to get started. And some of the lender fees include the inspections, right? They're going to want to do some inspections, if any, like surveys, appraisals, phase 1 environmental, and a property condition report. All that they will take out from the lender fee. They'll require your property management company resume. Because remember, the lender still has to approve your property management company. So you have to make sure that you're running all this through them to make sure that you get that property management, the A-OK from them, because they're going to want to see that. They're also going to want to see the property management agreement, the draft and the final that you guys agreed upon. They're going to want to see an org chart, draft and final. So meaning like, what's your entity structure going to look like? They're going to want to see that information. They're going to want to see the formation documents of all your entities, or however many entities you're doing, and the agreements that go with that. So like operating agreements and whatnot. And if you're the one that's going to be the KP or tied to the loan, they're going to want to see personal financial statements, guys. So if you've never done one before, and that was me before, I've never done a personal financial statement, they will help you with it. They'll provide you with a document or a template most of the time. But if not, feel free to reach out to someone who's more experienced in your team, that they will help you do it, because I didn't know how to do it myself, but I figured it out with thanks to the help with the others. And I did my first financial statement not too long ago, which was awesome. Also, they're going to ask for a personal real estate resume for yourself. So you'll have to have a resume and a track record of what you've done if you're going to be tied to the loan, or if you're the KP. And they're going to ask for the business plan and operating budget breakdown for the deal itself. So all the stuff that you guys have in your underwriting, they're going to ask for that stuff as well. They're going to have a copy of it, and they may ask questions about it. So just be prepared to handle those questions when they come. Dang, super dad over here, Joseph. It's awesome. All right, title. Title will start preparing the following items for you guys. They're going to start the draft of the deed for the property. They're going to run the title commitment. They're going to do title insurance estimate. They're going to do the settlement statements preliminary and final at the end. They're going to give you wiring instructions for the deal itself. And some of the things that they'll need from you will be, if you are syndicating the deal, they're going to need an assignment of purchase and sale agreement to the new borrower. So for example, if your purchase and sale agreement has one of your entities as the buyer, and you're going to create a new entity for your structure or your syndication model, then at some point you're going to have to assign that contract to the new entity. So they're going to need that from you if you are taking the syndication model. Also, any new amendments or addendums that you guys are in agreement with, like Joseph had mentioned, if for whatever reason you have to go over your closing period, then you will obviously have an amendment or some sort of addendum drawn up and you can give it to the title company, assuming everyone agrees to it. So they're going to require stuff like that for you if that comes up. And also any reports you want to ask your title company, super important to ask, guys. Don't assume. Ask them if whatever reports they need, what is it that they need from you? Did the appraisal that the lender has, is that good enough? Is the survey good enough? What is it that they need? Don't let this become a surprise 2 weeks before your closing period, and now you're rushing to get a survey because you didn't know. So make sure you ask what the title company needs from you as far as reports go or anything else. Property management company, this is all you, Joseph.
Bet, I'm ready. I love this stuff, guys. So we mentioned in the beginning, you should be securing the property management company. Honestly, guys, you should already have your property management company picked out and ready to go. If the agreement's not signed already, then you would definitely be getting this taken care of in this stage. You want to know who you got and a backup plan as well. You don't want to be down the road and still trying to work out the agreement, and then for whatever reason you guys are at a crossroads and aren't going to work together. You want to have that kind of secured and locked in already. So in this stage, the closing, you should be strategizing with the property management company, and one of those, we'll go through them here, is building the operating budget, secure or set the recurring meeting times. Those are going to be two very important ones. Review new lease agreements, if any, and strategize for the takeover. So let's go more in depth on those, right? The building the operating budget, sometimes depending on what property management company you have, they'll just do that for you with your plan in mind. But others, like the one we have, they'll want to do it with us, right? So they'll still do it, but they want us to sit down and go through it with them together. And what that is you're essentially taking the underwriting that you have planned and prepped, and you're putting that into actionable items for your property management company, giving them an actual budget for all of those expenses. Like, hey, we're expecting this to be the expenses for this. We don't want to go over this. Otherwise, it's going to be leaking into other areas of the budget. The meeting times, very, very important to have that. You want to make sure that you're meeting regularly with these property management companies. You don't want to, you can, but I don't recommend it. Just set it and forget it, because then who's holding the property management company responsible? One of the roles in the asset management is we like to refer to it as the property management bad guy, because if they're not doing their job, or they're doing something that you don't necessarily agree with, then you need to, be the one to tell them that that's what that role is there for. You're supposed to be on top of them, making sure that they're staying within the budget, coming to those meetings, doing the things that you guys agreed on. That's very important. And those meetings help with that you guys have a set time that recurs, that you guys can address those concerns, rather than having to call them directly each time or set up an email to try and get them to coordinate a time in the near future. You want to just have the standing meetings there. Reviewing new lease agreements, right? You want to make sure that most companies will have their own lease agreements. So you want to make sure that you either agree with their lease agreement and you're fine using that, or my God, y'all see her? Or you guys create a new one together with either your attorney, their attorney. You just want to make sure you're strategizing on those lease agreements that are, one, something you agree with, and two, legal in the state that you're have tenants in. When we say strategize for takeover, we have found that just because you take over on one day doesn't mean that the business plan implements on that very same day. We found that out the hard way. We had all these expectations and what was going to happen, and just nothing went according to plan. So we had to make sure that we planned better in the future, and which we have now. But you want to make sure that you're doing that for every single property. Let's say that you guys are going to have to come in there and do a bunch of evictions because you have tenants that aren't high quality tenants. And nothing wrong against them. I love everybody, but some people are just not good tenants. That's just how it is sometimes. So you want to make sure you have that planned and know what you're going to be expecting, or how many evictions we're going to be expecting in the beginning, or let's just try and rent bump everybody and see who leaves, because we need some people to leave so we can actually get started on the renovations. Sorry, she wants to talk too, guys. The last one is the intro to the PM software. Most property management companies will use like a select few. There's Appfolio, Buildium. Those are the two that we're familiar with now. And there's others out there. But you just want to make sure that you know how the software works, how it functions, and everything, all the ins and outs of it, because you're going to be having access to the software, maybe not total access, but you want to make sure that you understand what you're looking at, especially if you're the asset management role that is responsible for being on top of the property management and the person that's responsible for the financial aspect of it. A lot of that information is going to be in the software. And most important, guys, you want to make sure that you are on the same page with your property management company on how they do things, because every single one does things different from the others. Even if they're like sister companies or in the same state, whatever, they all do things differently. So you want to make sure that you are okay with their processes. And if there's anything that you're not okay with, can there be a workaround? Can we work something out that makes sense for both of us? Or is this something that's a non-negotiable that I need to go with my backup property management company? So you want to make sure you understand every aspect of it. And I'll tell you guys this, I've asked the same question like 10 times now about how they operate on that. And I've gotten the same answer every time, which is perfect, because that's exactly what I want to hear. I don't want to ask it one time and get one answer, then ask it again and get a different answer, because that tells me they don't actually have systems and processes, that she just had a prepared answer for me at that time. So those are just a couple of things that you guys can keep in mind when working with property management companies. I think that was everything.
Yep. All right. And the last one on there, I think, was raising capital, if I remember correctly. So if you guys are syndicating the deal, again, you've talked to your attorney, you find out which one you're doing, what filings and everything. And if it calls for this structure, raising capital, whoever that is on your team, you should have at least the following already drafted, or if not completed by this time. Finalize the pitch deck. This should be something that you've already finalized by this point. You know what the numbers are. You're going to go start talking to your investors. Finalize the pitch deck. Finalize the sources and uses table breakdown, because a lot of investors are going to ask you, what is it that you need like to close the deal, and what is it that you need for capex, if any, and what's the total budget and the breakdown. They're going to want to know what that breakdown looks like, and that's what you have in your underwriting. So you need to finalize the sources and uses table to let them know where exactly that money is going to be going for. If they ask for it, you are prepared and you know what to say. You're having one-on-one meetings with potential investors at this point. You are going strong. You're meeting with them every single day at this point. You're getting those investors lined up, and if not, get soft commitments. You're keeping track of them on a spreadsheet, and you're also planning out ahead of time for a date and time for the webinar, if it costs for it, or any webinars that you might do in the future, where you set up a time and date with all these investors that you've talked to, and you'll go over the exact pitch deck with the business plan and just go a little bit more further into detail. You've also, by this point, set up a bank account for the wiring of the money that the investors are going to be sending you. And all this can be done through the investor portal. You also want to set up an investor portal. Which one's the one that we're using, Joseph? Do you remember?
Yeah, it's cash flow.
Cash flow. That's one of them. And I think we've heard of, I can't remember the other one. But there's several, guys. A lot of these will help you with email blast, text blast. You can also do the wiring instructions through the portal. You can have the private placement memorandum also uploaded on there so they can review it, and the subscriptions or questionnaires for your investors. So it just makes it so much easier for you guys to do it instead of having to do this all manually. So investor portals are crucial for you guys to start doing this and getting those investors involved with the portal. It's super easy. You just typically send them a link and they'll fill out everything that they need to. Yeah. Okay. All right, guys. Was this helpful? Let us know in the chat.
And I want to point out that this one was kind of short and sweet to the point, right? In comparison to the ones we've gone over. The reason, and that's done purposely, that's done with intent. The reason is, by this point, you guys should have everything kind of already set up, ready to go. You know, like if you're still having to do some of the other stuff from the past, maybe you weren't as prepared as you should have been going into this process. So the closing period, everything should already be wrapped up neat, tight as a button, right? It should be looking good. You guys should be almost ready to close, if not already ready to close, and just collecting the money from people and tightening up those last few things, dotting your I's, crossing your T's. That's with intent, guys. You want to make sure that you're prepared as possible before actually getting to this stage.
Exactly. Guys, if you found that helpful, it would be nice if you guys can shout us out on social media, Instagram. These are our handles on Instagram. Guys, follow us if you're not. We post a lot of stuff on there. We're actually going to be transitioning over to a lot of Instagram and YouTube content. And so this, if you guys aren't following us, follow us now, shout us out, and let everybody know you got value from this. It'll just help us out a lot too. Really quick, Joseph, you want to touch up on the $1 million VIPs?
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, I know you've heard us say it a few times now, but we do have an exclusive group. It's called the $1 Million VIPs. Essentially, it's a similar format in what we're doing here with you guys. This is the free side, though. We pour a lot into the VIPs because, one, they've invested in themselves, and two, they've invested in us. And we take that very seriously. We want to make sure we're providing value in everything that we're doing, but we want to focus a lot of our attention on these people because, just as a general rule of thumb, people don't necessarily appreciate what they can get for free, right? So when you put a dollar amount to it, even if it's just $1, $2, $3, when you put a dollar amount, there's automatically more value to that than something that's free. So we focus specifically on this VIP group. They have our analyzer. You get the analyzer when you join the group. It's a creative underwriting analyzer that Ione, Oscar's girlfriend, created. She's amazing. Holy crap, that thing is awesome. It's super cool. It helps us underwrite deals in a very creative way by implementing all of our strategies. So honestly, that's like the biggest highlight. But on top of that, we also do other things, including we have 2 meetings a month that we're starting on the 17th, I believe is the first meeting. And in there, it's called the deal review. There's other versions of this similar meeting out there, but essentially you have a problem, you have a deal, whatever it is, you bring it to that meeting. We'll help you get through the problem, underwrite the deal, whatever it is, as if it was our own deal. And we're going to work it just like we would work our own deal and give the best value that we can and as much advice. Hey, I see Gerald is asking for the handles if you want to go back. That's pretty much it, guys. As far as the VIP group, it has an exclusive Facebook group, and we're always going to be putting stuff into there. That's where we'll share things first with that group, so everyone will get a kind of a sneak peek. There's also additional content that we have planned to put in there. So if you're interested about it, guys, you can definitely reach out to myself and find out more. But if you want even more honest, genuine answer, which I will give you honest, genuine answer, but if you want to hear it from somebody that's in the group, there is multiple VIPs in here in the group. If the VIPs just want to put a VIP in the chat, that way you guys can reach out to those and just find out how they like it, what's going on. Maybe it's something you don't even want to do, but just ask them. They'll give you more details about it. And there's quite a few of them in here that I see. And I see these people on a regular basis now, all the time. So it's super exciting. We're trying to build a little tight-knit community. These are the group of people that we know want to be here, and we know want to pursue this multifamily journey. So I know that was a little long-winded, but that's what I got.
You're good. You are good. All right. Q&A, guys. Who has questions? Raise your hands and we'll bring you on stage, or type them in the chat and we'll answer them for you guys. We normally do a pretty good job at this, Joseph, but we don't have any questions.
I know. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Let me see if I can just talk about a few topics while people are asking questions, if any.
Sorry, I was sending a message. Oh, I see Max has a question. He says, what does an investor pool usually look like? What information do they have access to?
Investor portal.
What did I say?
Cool.
Whoops. Whatever. It's Friday, guys. Yeah, investor portal. How do I put this? They typically have access to whatever you put into the portal. You'll go in there, you'll create the deal. So whatever information you put on the deal, that's what they'll have access to. That's what they'll be able to see. And essentially, it's kind of like a secured payment portal. I know that's probably very broad in general, but that's exactly what you should think of when you see it. But instead of just having, here's the product, now pay for it, it has more information, all the details that you want to put into that portal, so that way they know what they're actually investing in. And some of them, actually pretty much all of them, but if you have multiple properties that you're trying to raise funds for, or just a actual fund of funds, you can put all of that in there, and they can actually choose which deal they want to invest in. So we're not quite at that stage yet. We're generally doing one deal at a time as far as raising funds for it, but we're always looking for more deals. So I'm sure there's going to be a point in time where we do have multiple deals that we're raising money for. I actually know if this one that we're working on goes well, then I think we'll have two at the same time. One will be kind of in that closing stage, and one will be in the early stage. Did I answer the question clearly? I know I don't typically do that. It's kind of an integrated thing. I give too much information and don't actually give the right answer. So Max, if that wasn't clear, okay, awesome. Sweet.
All right. Sorry if I mispronounce your name, but Duman, what is your buying criteria, market, property size, deal size, etc.? Do we have the buy box somewhere, Joseph?
Yeah, KJ has the most recent one, and I say most recent because it is a little bit different from that now. But if you go to at KJ Mudd on Instagram, she has it pinned on her Instagram, which is a good idea. I should probably do that too. Let me see. Yeah, just pull it up right here. But I can, here, let me just tell you. What would you ask? Buying market, property size, deal size. So we are looking any landlord-friendly states. Typically, the Sun Belt is pretty good. Primarily looking in Texas, Arizona, North Carolina, South Carolina. We do like Florida, but with insurance and everything, it's not likely that most of the deals will work. If we find a good deal in Florida, we would definitely be interested. Also Tennessee, we like Georgia, we like Oklahoma. And I think that's it off the top of my head. But there is more states. As long as it's landlord friendly and we have somebody that is a boots on the ground for the property, totally open to looking at it. Obviously, we would have to do a market analysis on that specific market, make sure it checks all the boxes, as well as the deal checks all the boxes before we actually go into that market. Property size, minimum 40 plus units. Ideally, we like 100 plus, minimum of 40. Deal size, we don't necessarily have a max on the purchase price or anything like that. We have other partners, sponsors that if it is a deal too large for us, we'll just bring them in and we'll do the deal with them. So there's not really anything stopping us as far as the raise or the actual size. It's more so, is it just us and our team, or will we be bringing other partners into the deal in order to get it done? Classes, we like class A and B. We also like C plus. Not so much a fan of, just your typical C class or D class. We definitely want to stay away from those. just because there's a lot of risk involved. But as long as it's a nice C with a good market, we're okay with that. Albany, Georgia. Yeah, I definitely think we'd be open to that. It's 232 unit. Definitely reach out to either myself or Oscar and we can absolutely talk about it. I think I covered everything. Oh, we don't really want to do student housing. We don't really want to do what's the word? Like government assisted programs or anything like that. No tax credit buildings. Nothing wrong with them. It's just not in our business plan. It's not what we're looking to focus on right now. It's just a different strategy when you're taking these over. And they will be good to do down the road, just not what we're looking for right now. Gerald said your Instagram is shut down, Oscar.
No, it's because I changed the handle. Sorry, hang on. It's that one now for Ione. So the Oscar and Ione's handle have been updated. I just did that yesterday. I forgot to do it on the PowerPoint.
Dang.
Yeah.
All right. Did I cover everything on our buying criteria or anything like that? Oh, we love seller finance. How could I forget that? If it's a seller finance deal, a lot of that stuff could potentially go out the window if it makes sense. But if it's seller finance, let's just talk about it and see what we can actually do with it.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're saying like I want 80% down, yeah, that's just not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. I see Deirdre's question says, is each portal specific for each deal, or do you just add a deal to the portal as it is ready? So you actually, I mean, I'm not the one that set this up, but my understanding is that you essentially provide a link for them to click on, go through, set up their account, and go into your portal. And they will have access to all of the deals that you have listed. And so whatever deal that you create, kind of like having Facebook, right? Whatever post you have on your Facebook, those are the ones they're going to be able to see. So each deal that you add, you're going to put in probably a picture of the deal, maybe a couple of pictures, and then the information, like all the buying information, what the total raise is, all that good stuff. And it's very high level because you should be having this conversation with them directly, not just an email or a text. You know, you want to already have given the information. So this should not be the first time they're seeing that information. And each deal will be there, the ones that you added. So if you wanted to go and create an entire new portal for each deal that you're doing, that's an option. I don't necessarily recommend that if you're the one doing all of the raising for it anyways. Now, there may be scenarios where you're raising money for this deal and another partner is raising money for this deal, but you're in both of them. You're just not responsible for the raise on both of them. So that could be a scenario where you have two different portals.
Think of the portal as a CRM for your investors. That's pretty much it. You have a database of them. And what Joseph said, you're giving them access to whatever deals that you're doing. So if you have a deal that's ready to go and you're starting to raise the funds for it, you will point them to, after you've done the meeting with them, right? And they've committed to you, you point them to the investor portal, where then they will do everything else on there, right? You can do wiring instructions on there. So it's super easy. It's housed in that investor portal. You know, you can do the private placement memorandum when they're actually looking at the document, the legal stuff. Of course, consult with your attorney, but they're looking at that stuff so they can read it, sign it, agree to it, blah, blah, blah. So all that stuff can be handled through the investor portal. It's a one-stop shop, so you don't have to do it all manually for them. So again, this is what Joseph said. You should have already had that conversation with them. You're just simply pointing them to the next step, and then they do everything there.
Yeah, and Lars actually reminded me of two more things that I left out on our buy box, which is pretty important. So shout out to Lars. He's also on our acquisition team. 3% buyer's fees. That's not something that we're looking for. If it has a 3% buyer's fee, it's got to be negotiable. Just because 2%, 3%, they don't generally work on most deals. Some deals they do work on because they're smaller and it's not that much of a fee. Typically what we'll do is we'll structure some sort of flat fee, kind of like a finder's fee for bringing the deal, or a referral fee. If it's a 3% buyer's fee or 2% buyer's fee just on top, and there's no negotiations about that, then we probably won't be interested in that. And if it is a wholesale deal, we've got to be able to have direct contact to the seller or the broker. If we can't do that, it's just not worth our time. And the reason, and I say that like in the nicest way possible, I don't discount wholesalers in any way. We still wholesale some properties, but it's just harder to get the information we need. There's more hoops that we have to jump through. Like here's an example: is me and Oscar just spent what, like 2 weeks dealing with a couple wholesalers. I had one buddy bring me the deal who was connected to one person, who was connected to one person, who was connected to the person that supposedly had the deal under contract. Come to find out, they don't have it under contract. They just know the person, have a good relationship with them, but they're flat on their feet. Like we wasted all that time and they're not even negotiable. They want to get paid 16 million for giving me the financials and a phone number. Like it doesn't make sense. It kills the deal to do that, and it's just not realistic. So if you are going to wholesale a deal, make sure that we can have direct access to whoever it is. And that's for any buyer. If you're going to wholesale to any buyer, they're going to want to be involved. They're going to want to have control of the deal. They don't want to have to go through these hoops just to get one question answered that should take a 2-minute phone call. You know what I mean? So nothing against wholesalers. Like I said, we love everybody, but it's just harder to do deals in that way.
Yeah. And let me address that too, because you guys, if you've been watching this series, this is part 7, and this is just from acquisition and closing. You saw how many steps and what it takes to get to the closing table all the way through. It's a lot of work, guys, and you don't get paid for it until the deal closes. So if that deal didn't close, you just spent all that time and energy and didn't get paid for it. So
and potentially money.
and potentially
Risk
money.
capital.
Exactly. The risk capital. You've lost those fees that are not refundable, right? So just look at it this way. When you're typically structuring a syndication deal, Joseph, what's the acquisition fee for the GPs?
Man, you got me as I took a big old bite and a gulp of water. 1 to 3%.
1 to 3% for doing all this work, guys. For us, the GPs, the operators, the JVs, whoever is actually doing the job, 1 to 3% of an acquisition fee. So if you have a wholesaler or someone who's trying to give you a deal and they're expecting 2 to 3% for just giving you the financials and a phone number or whatever, it just weigh the differences out, right? Like how much work did they actually bring, right? How much value did they bring to the table? Not only that, but if you're going to go raise capital, here's the second thing that they don't think about, right? If you're going to go raise capital, I told you guys, if you're an underwriter here, you understand what the sources and uses table is about. You're going to have to underwrite that 2-3% that comes out of your investor's pocket, the one that you're raising for. The investors are going to look at that and be like, why am I paying 2 to 3% for this wholesaler? And what are they doing? Right? What is it that they're actually doing? It's not to say anything against wholesalers. Again, we wholesale too, but that's something that the industry doesn't talk about a lot. And if you're doing this structure, this type of deal, you have to be able to justify it to your investors on where the money is going, because they're going to ask for it. Well, how do we know? Because we've been asked for it ourselves, right? And we have to justify where the money's going, right? And then they asked us, we were asked a really good question. They were like, hey, would you go and negotiate that fee or commission with a broker? Joseph, what answer did you give them when they said that?
Yeah, I said absolutely. Our broker works for 0.5% to 1%. Even another broker that we're multiple brokers that we're friends with, and some that we're not necessarily friends with outside of the working relationship, they are all work for 0.5% to 1%. Some of them will say, hey, I want 2%. And we're just like, honestly, like I don't mind paying that, but it just doesn't make sense. Like it kills the deal to bring it up that high. Some scenarios it makes sense, but more often than not, it just doesn't, especially with this market right now.
So just keep that in consideration, guys, that we don't mind paying whoever is bringing the deal to us. It just has to be reasonable, negotiable, flexible, because it depends on the deal, right? 16 million for just connecting us with a seller and sending us financials. That's really hard to justify when we ourselves are not even going to get paid 16 million on the acquisition fee.
Yeah.
Right. So just think about that way. I think it's a different perspective. I would say, and I wish I would have said this on that call, Joseph, but if you are one of those, I'm not saying wholesalers in a bad way, but if you are in a position where you have that relationship with the seller or direct to that broker, then what I would say is the right strategy would be is why don't you figure out a way to take that deal on yourself? And on top of that, figure out who you need to bring for you to take that deal down as partners. And that would be the better strategy, because then you're bringing actual value because you've created that relationship. Go and take that deal down. There's no reason why you can't do it, or at least bring someone in that can do it and then somehow be part of it. Or if not, just, just imagine how that would change your life if you have that relationship and you go and find those partners to take down that deal yourself. There's no reason why you can't. You guys are here in this network. You're here with each other, network with each other. That's why I'm always saying network in the chat, because you don't know. There's people in this chat right now, guys, that I know are silent assassins that you guys probably don't know or do know. But there's people in here that you would never think are at a higher level, and we respect them so much. So if you find yourself in that position, rather than doing a 2 to 3%, why don't you find out how you can take that deal down yourself? Anyway, I'll step off my high horse now.
Well said, bro. Well said.
Any other questions for us, guys? Looked like you were going to say something, bro.
I was just going to say, I was like, I hope we're not coming off like arrogant douchebags, but it's a hot button topic, right? Because there's all these deals out there that have this, hey, 3%, 3%, 3%, 3%. I got a nasty email from somebody because I told him, kind of the same thing, right? And he didn't respond well at all to it, but it's okay because it's not going to affect my business, because I'm going to run my business with integrity. And if that's how they respond in the first place, then I know I probably didn't want to work with them in the long run anyways. So that's another good thing about this industry, is you can choose who you work with. That is phenomenal. I absolutely love that aspect of it. And that's why we're here building this community, is because we want more people that we can do deals with. We want to see you guys win. We want to see everybody succeed.
Mm-hmm. And keep in mind that real estate, the industry is pretty small, but when you get into multifamily, it's even smaller, guys. Everyone knows each other. Reputation is key. It's super important. Like, what goes around comes around, and it travels fast, guys. It travels super fast. So operate with integrity at all times, and be very selective on what you're looking at and what partners you bring on. Always vet anybody that you talk to. We do that all the time. We have the tough conversations up front just to make sure, because we've been in bad positions before. So have those conversations up front and make sure you knock them out. I can't stress enough that reputation is super huge in multifamily. Small world, guys. It really is.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, I don't see any more questions. Raise your hand or anything else before DJ Joseph sends us off with Friday mood, Friday energy.
Yeah, I'm getting it set up again. For some reason it closed down, so we got some time for some questions. Normally we run this thing to like 1:30, sometimes 2. It's even gone till 3 one time.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and since this is the last of the series, guys, I think Joseph had made a post on Facebook where you can suggest or give us feedback on anything else that you want to see going forward on Fridays. We are open to any idea. So if there's a specific topic that you guys want us to talk about, let us know so we can get that topic ready for you guys. Yeah, that's the link in the chat, suggest.milliondollarupside.com. So if you guys want to hear anything specific, we want to bring you guys value. We don't want to do a Zoom that you guys have already heard. That's why we stay away from talking about brokers, because we've done that a lot, how to talk to brokers and underwriting. We've talked about underwriting so many times that we're like, let's talk about something that they actually want to hear about. So if you guys want anything specifically, go to that link in the chat.
Yeah, and I want to here's a sneak peek of something that we're planning. It's definitely gonna take some time, but I'm working on putting together a what's the word I'm looking for? A lineup of different people in the industry that are powerhouses that crush it in asset management. So I know that that's not a super strong area for us, but I want to learn more about it. I think everybody here could learn a lot more about it. And we're doing our own asset management, but we want to get better, right? And that's why we're all here. We all want to get better. So I'm putting together a group of people to come in and just talk about how they run their asset management. So that is a work in progress. I don't know how soon I'll be able to get that set up, but I am trying to get that prepared for you guys too. I think that would be a good one.
Oh yeah. All right, DJ Mud. Kick
All
us
right,
off.
here we go.